Recording in progress.
It's nice to know I don't have to worry about speaking up anymore.
I just had a memory in clearing my throat, coughing a long time ago, really a long time ago, 40 years ago. My first wife and I went to India to take a trip, Lewis and Clark students, 25 Lewis and Clark students for 5 months. It was absurd. We were 27 and 28. And we spent 6 weeks in Pune, which is when Rajneesh was there. And that was a trip. We went over in the mornings and we did dynamic meditation. And then we would sometimes stay, and he gave a talk in the morning. And there may be 1,000 people, maybe not. Yeah, 1,000 people. And he would drive out in one of his Rolls Royces over to the right. He would drive out, and the entire tent, it was a huge tent, would erupt in coughing because everyone had upper respiratory catarrh because of the smog. It was horrendous. It's much worse now, apparently. And the reason everyone had to do that was because if you coughed while he was in the room, you were ejected. One of the 6'3" goons would come along and point, and you have to go. So, and they also, he was allergic to scent, they said. And so on the way in, you had to be sniffed. You had to pass through the sniffers. And if you had any scent of soap or something on you, you had to go sit in the back. And one day we decided we would just go sit in the back because they always sniffed us out. We didn't have the proper clothing, so it was obvious we were interlopers. And so we put ourselves in the I got sniffed out, and they came and got us because you had to be sniffed out to qualify to go there. It was a trip. Anyway, hello. We made it through another night. It's another morning, or at very least it's this morning. It's December the 8th, 2021. Whatever either of those mean, it does help us orient to each other, doesn't it? And we get this time to be together now. Good morning, Mr. Dalton. So I have
morning, sir.
Oh, you're saying something. Hang on, I don't have I can't hear you.
I'm just welcoming you back.
Oh, yes, I had an echocardiogram yesterday, and everything's fine. Everything's fine. What an amazing process. This very skillful young woman sitting beside me with a mouse kind of thing and buttons, and she showed me she would measure the something or other, the atrium, and then she'd spread it out. She'd make it all fit in the lines, and then she'd go click. And so they measured all the various functionings, the speed of the ejection, and how much blood was ejected from the different places. And I passed. Nothing to worry about, he said, the Mr. Cardiologist. So this is from the Sun magazine a long time ago, from Elsa Brooks. It is lovely to see you, my friends. Thanks for being here. It's called A Father and Daughter. She wakes up to the sound of crying, muffled in the darkness. She takes tentative steps to the room upstairs. It's her father. Bottles on the floor, cigarette in his hand, the room subdued, smoky. She turns to leave as silently as she walked in. He whispers, "I'm sorry." Tears flow freely, streaking her cheeks. She runs to hug him. 4 years later now, and they're still hugging. They still cry together. But now they can laugh together, take trips together, play cards together, friends as well as family. They live in a small brown house. It was so cold, so empty. She still cries on her own. So does he. He has a son who can't be with him, who feels guilty for loving him, a wife that despises him, but a daughter who can't live without him. He's her rock, her savior, her knight in shining armor. She is the light of his life, the apple of his eye, his second chance, his path to redemption. Elsa Brooks. Father and daughter. I'm sorry, he said. So, my friends, here we are. What if we were to let the past be the past? To recognize it for what it is, which is a class of thoughts. And what if similarly we recognized what the future is? Another class of thoughts that we can worry about. And what if we were to honor the utter mystery of awareness? And where does awareness happen? It's right here, now. And what is real right now? There is a body sitting here. It breathes in and breathes out. There's also warmth and coolness. Where is the warmest part of the body? Where is there coolness? Each breath suddenly appears. Maybe not so suddenly. There's a build up to the breath, and then breathing happens. And breathing in happens, and then fullness occurs, and then breathing out happens. And then the breath ends. If the mind is tending to restlessness and agitation, the first antidote is awareness. To notice it for what it is and recognize it's not personal, it's just the mind. Another antidote is to emphasize concentration. And we can do this by slightly, ever so slightly, increasing the intention to be concentrated in the breath. So when the mind wanders, when the mystery of awakening occurs, return to the sensations of breathing with a certain gentle determination. Initial application. And then persist over time, sustained application. We can use noting, rising, rising, falling, falling, wandering, returning. Or we could count. On the in-breath 1, on the out-breath 2, up to 10, start over. And if you lose your place on the way, just start over, back to 1. It is such a profound relief to rest in the present. To let go of, I am somebody who did this, I am somebody who does that. In fact, to let go of all somebodying and just be this. We awaken to and honor the truth of loving kindness, the truth of love, in which there is room for everything that arises. So we abandon the battle. When the mind wanders, it wanders. When there's the 5 hindrances in Ascendancy, they're there. There's desire, craving, wanting, or disliking, aversion. There's restlessness, agitation, worry, remorse. There's sloth and torpor, sleepy dullness. There's doubt, despair, dispiritedness, hopelessness. They all come, they all go. None of them are personal. So we don't need to have a battle with them. Mindfulness is first and foremost nonviolent. It is the natural awakening of the universe to itself. And so with great delicacy and persistence, we come home to in-breathing and out-breathing. resting back into the present moment. It doesn't matter what the content of the wandering mind is. It could be a florid story of the past, or a rehashing of a recent intense conversation, or some daydreaming of a vacation in the future, or some remembering a fear of the future. They are all of no importance. What is important is now. Sometimes when we persist a little longer in meditation, discomfort arises. Physical pain, emotional pain. With emotional pain, we can either not deny it, but turn away from it. Focus on the breath, and sometimes it will simply cease to exist. Other times, when it's stronger, it may be essential to turn toward it, to take the very emotional experience itself as the meditation object, to hold it in your heart and hands as you would a precious baby. It's challenging. It's counterintuitive. It's the way home. Whenever I'm hurting, discover myself to be hurting. Whenever there is discomfort, I intend to be with this with sweet, kind, loving compassion. Compassion is the capacity of opening to be present with, of non-judgment. It is my intention to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. To inhabit this moment fully, we must let go of any opinions of how it should be different. I'm going to fix this so that tomorrow when I meditate, something will be different. It's a thought. Resting in the present moment with in-breathing and out-breathing. And just as each of us experiences discomfort and moods and disappointments, so is it true for everyone else. And so it's helpful to remember that whenever I experience someone else acting unskillfully in any way, when they are acting out of greed, hatred, and ignorance, I intend to hold them too in sweet compassion. Doesn't mean I condone what they've done or are doing, but I don't have to close my heart. That way we can understand and be kind. And let's imagine that at the center of our hearts there sits an exquisite little golden Buddha. And this little golden Buddha is shaped exactly like each of us. to the level of every hair and every pore. And we could imagine that flowing through from the great mystery, through this archetypal symbol, is love and compassion, healing energy, could be whatever color you'd like if you're a visualizer. And let it flow into the body and down into the solar plexus and legs and feet. Up into the chest and out into the shoulders and hands and up into the head. And anywhere it encounters blockage or suffering, pain, let it just soften more and more. And now, imagining that this golden archetypal figure, shaped exactly like you, begins to grow and expand until the body of this being is exactly contiguous with yours. Your skin is the radiant, beautiful skin of the Buddha, of Kuan Yin, of Mary, of whoever it is for you. And now let us extend this to everyone in our group. To everyone who's been in this group ever since the beginning of COVID. It's a lot of people. Include in the circle of your loving and compassion your loved ones, your animals, your pets. Let yourself be the Buddha, Kuan Yin, Tara, radiating out into the world, to the north, to the south, to the east and the west, above and below, including yourself, one among hundreds of billions of beings. And you can choose to leave this expanded Buddha as your skin, as your body, or let it shrink down again to its permanent abiding spot in the heart. It's always there. Encountering the loving, awake aspect of being is much more a practice of not doing than doing, as it is our true nature. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. May we carry mindfulness and love and compassion into every interaction we have today. Thank you, dear, beautiful friends, for being here today. The start of another day. I participated in the weekly construction meeting yesterday, and things are moving along rather grandly. There's a special little lip for where the ramp meets the concrete that should be here this week. The doors on the offices downstairs are going to be going in this week, they think. We did run into a bit of a glitch. There was an error in the drawings, and in order to properly waterproof the junction, took a long time till I could understand this as they explained it. In order to properly put flashing on the door, the new door into the Dharma Hall, they need to disassemble part of the deck and then pull it away from the building and then put the flashing in. So it was a mistake in the order of things. Painting is moving along. The offices downstairs are almost all completely painted, and they'll be starting on the restrooms and the narthex, as it's called, the foyer upstairs today, I think. And the door from the Dharma Hall to the living room is God, it's huge. They made a big opening, and it should be done by the end of this week, I think. And the completion date has now been pushed out to the 31st of December. They had said the 24th, which is my birthday, and I thought, yes, we'll be ready then. But it is coming. It's really coming along. There will be new railings anywhere there need to be railings, and the new restrooms are so big by contrast with before. Amazing. So, Jim, is there anything we should announce?
The usual December, the usual activities in the third weekend of the month are my Qigong gathering on the 18th and candles on the 19th on Sunday evening, and then she's also got some other groups that meet. I think she's closing off one sequence, and then at the beginning of the year she'll start up another one with every other Friday, I think, or maybe it's every Friday. Anyway, she's got her own little focus on a women's group that I wasn't invited to.
So I think that's well, actually I could bring this to the fore. I'd like to thank everybody for your enormous generosity in supporting the center and supporting the practice of so many people. You'll be receiving an email or a letter, I think, and email soon that we're doing an end-of-year fundraising. And if you're not a monthly contributor, please consider that, because then the budgeting process is clearer. But also the contribution continues even when you're not here. And I just remembered I made a commitment, and it kind of fell out of my mind here. You will also be receiving, I'll play it here on one of the mornings, no doubt. I'm going to be doing a short video, which is a fundraising appeal for the project. We are, the numbers are scary in a way, but we are about $130,000 over budget with the things that the city has required us to do, like a $43,000 fire system or fire alarm system. And we are in the process of making application to various foundations and so on. And we will need to continue raising substantial amounts of money over the next 5 or 6 years, because in order to finish the project. So I'm going to make a nice little video, and I hope it works okay. So, what's up with you? Oh, I want to say one other thing. You know, I say numbers like $100,000. Bathtubs fill with a drip if you leave them for a day or two. So the smallest of contributions is of great importance, not only in terms of building up volume or amount, but the possibility of offering Donna the capacity that we have to then feel really rich and great about ourselves because we're supporting something of such importance. So now I will cease talking and ask what are the joys and sorrows, and how is mindfulness illuminating your life?
Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Sangha. It's Jessica.
It's Jessica. Hello.
Hi. I just had a question that has been arising for me in my meditations the last few times, and that is how we welcome, in that spirit of welcoming everything, the idea of and practice of forgiveness. There's some reconnections happening in my life. It's the season, right, where we often reconnect with people that maybe we haven't seen for a while. And sometimes those past relationships had their moments of stress. And so I just would love to hear your thoughts again on just forgiveness, because I know in our practice, we often speak to compassion and loving kindness and equanimity and generosity, sympathetic joy. But that word forgiveness, I would just love to hear some thoughts about that in this season of reconnections. Thank you.
I will do that. And how about tomorrow morning, in the last 15 minutes of our practice, I'll do a guided forgiveness meditation. There is one on the PIMC website. If you go to the website, Teachings, Guided Meditations, the second from the bottom is a video of a forgiveness meditation. So the essence of it, forgiving is not forgetting. We have no interest in forgetting. So it's to forgive and remember. And so what does that mean? Well, it means to let go of my end of the resentment. And sometimes we forgive people and we still never let them have our phone number again, or maybe we still call the police. But the forgiveness is the holding on to the resentment. And so there's a lot of different strategies. In fact, there's a great book, Forgive for Good, by Fred Luskin, really worth reading. So here's my understanding of the essence of it. Two things, I guess. The past is really over. It doesn't exist anymore except in our memories and our thoughts. So that means any resentments that we have mean that we are cherishing the resentment in the present moment. We're rehashing, she did this, they did that, they should have done this, all that stuff. Or I did this and and we're punishing ourselves. And so there's something about wisdom, meditative insight, that potentiates forgiveness. That if it's true, not theoretically, but if it's true that the past is a class of thoughts in the present moment, here's the wildest thing is we can hold resentments against people who died 30 years ago. Now that's insane, right? So, among the practices, one can imagine, I'll do one of these tomorrow, that we can imagine that we're sitting in a safe place, in a safe room, and then there's a door, and someone that we hold resentment toward comes in the door. And they sit down, and we realize that we really would like to not waste the energy holding resentment anymore. And so maybe we have a little conversation, and maybe they have something interesting or useful to say, and we can also imagine that they have become people who have tremendous communication skills, and they can have remorse, and then we have the intention of relinquishing any claim to punishment. It's not our job to punish people. And so, and then we decide, and I really highly recommend that book, Forgive for Good. And I'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. That we actually just relinquish it in the present moment, and we can say things like, I forgive you, or I forgive myself, as much as possible in this moment. And then when we notice the mind going back into those thought patterns, we change the track. It's just a bad habit. We think of it as normal. It is common, it's normative for humans, but it really is a form of madness to hold resentments in the past. So I'll return to it tomorrow. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. That's helpful.
It's such a huge thing to recognize that the past is over. And not as a thought, not as a fantasy, but as it's really gone.
Hi, Robert. It's Dave.
Hi, Dave.
This hits right into what was a really helpful sit this morning. But when you talk about the stories and the thoughts and the past and the future, as I sit here and I sit watching the thoughts rise up, the only way I can describe it is that they come out of an inflamed nervous system. That there's a deeper, I can actually feel it, in the sort of an inflamed vibrational energy that it comes out of the past. I'm not just bringing thoughts from the past. I'm bringing a conditioned sympathetic nervous system that is the boiling stew out of which resentments and I don't even say knee-jerk, instinctive resentments or hatreds or you get the idea that they come out of. And, I can...
Is that
I
true?
can sit,
Are you sure? That's a theory.
I sit with the sensations of it.
And when do those sensations occur?
They occur now. But as I sit with the sensation, there is a vibrational energy. It's a hot, inflamed vibrational energy And as you were talking about forgiveness, I'll bring up an image of a particular person, and that resentment that I hold comes deep out of this. Inchoate is the only word I can think of. It's like the seed of thought. It's an energy, and I just watch the anger and the hatred form out of this energy. And so I turn my attention to the energy, and I've described it before. It's like the Marianas Trench, a well of magma that, I'll try to spray some love on it or compassion I can deal with the thought. It's that vibrational energy out of which all of this stuff comes that I have a hard time detaching from, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, I wonder if you need to detach from it, and I wonder if there's a you that needs to do anything. And everything that occurs, including the whole theory of this, happens now. And to simply relinquish the notion that one has to control it and just watch it happen, that's where the freedom lies. It's a very articulate, beautifully articulate, actually, story of the magma and the past and that whole structure is a thought process, and that too could be observed in the present moment as, oh, there's that. I don't imagine this is a very satisfying response, but it's really true that there's only this nanosecond. And we can have a story. Well, and it's true. It's at a relative level, it's true that one of the stories that I tend to believe is that in early infancy and childhood, there's a way that the biochemistry gets set, and that's perhaps useful. Well, it's useful. Medications have been developed in order to work with that part of it. But in meditation, like, what if you were to notice, what if it were to notice, there's a story and a belief about a great Marianas Trench with magma. That is a very colorful, convincing image that makes something real of a self. And that too could be observed as another thought. I'm going to move you up to the camera so I'm not looking over there. And you can set yourself free from that. That's like an anchor. Oh, there's this Marianas Trench of suffering, and it got put in place in my childhood, and now I'm dealing with the hot energy of that, and the thoughts come out of that, the resentments come out of that. And what if you don't need to do that? What if you don't need to be working at anything? You could just let that blossom and pass. How about this as well? The way I hear in the way you're speaking, you have been such a diligent practitioner all these years, decades. And there are ways that I have taught that have to do with, there's the pain, there's the story, turn toward it, release it, and that there's And those are all very useful for quite some time. And there comes a point where those strategies become a burden. And I think you may be at that point. You can just relax.
So this is Buddha saying go right instead of go left.
Or maybe it's Buddha saying, when you reach the other side, put down the raft. There's all the strategies and skills that develop through the Satipatthana Sutra. I mean, it's a pretty heavy thing that he says at the end of the Satipatthana Sutra. When you reach the far side, put down the raft. Thanks, David.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all for coming today. That's funny, Janice. I was just really looking at that amazing picture of you in front of the Buddha. It's cool. And then just as I noticed it, you switched it off. It's really funny. Where was that Buddha? That's a really beautiful place. Oh, that's going to Bhutan again?
No, that was in Hawaii.
Oh, wow. You get around to those Buddhist sites. That's great.
Hi, Robert. Did I mute myself this time?
You're not muted now. Now you are muted.
And you can see what happens when you've been away for a couple of weeks. Can't get the mute correctly.
Right.
I wanted your thoughts on this. I spoke on Monday about what was quite miraculous, although I knew it came from all of these months here and other teachers and all that stuff of being so present when I was away, but moreover, when I came home to the same circumstances and alone, I just knew the past. It was the past. It was lovely memories, and I was here now. And I've continued that way, and it feels, as Pema says, kind of groundless. I feel like I have less energy, but that may just be calm, which is so strange to me. But when listening to Dave, what came to me is, how often people say we are being breathed rather than we're not choosing when we're meditating, we are breathing naturally. And I feel as if I haven't made the conscious choice. It's a mystery to me in the way of being able to intellectualize and figure it out. It's been done to me. I didn't come home thinking, okay, now it's the present. And everything since, and when I was there, it's just happening. It's being done to me. So that's what I wanted your thoughts about.
Well, what about the first half of that statement? Seems really clear and helpful. It's happening, but it's being done to me implies someone doing something, as though there's intention somewhere. I don't think it's what you mean, but
No.
I wouldn't use that phrase. It's being done.
Okay, so let me say, it's just as if when I'm meditating and the breath is coming, or the presence is coming, all of that is coming to me. When I'm aware of it, this feels the same. It's not the same it doesn't feel like I have overcome. I don't feel like anybody else has. It just feels all the part of this process that kind of leaves me out of it, rather than attributing it to anything but everything. Have I made it any more clear, or just befuddled it further?
I'm I'm getting a little more befuddled. I think you're saying maybe that you're observing phenomena, including yourself, maybe happening, as
Yes.
as opposed to making things happen so much. And
Absolutely.
what a relief.
Yeah. And what a surprise. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, it's almost 8:15. Anybody sitting with something you really want to share? Sure is pleasure seeing you. Let us sing our way home. May all beings receive all blessings. Bhavatu Sabbe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabbe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabbe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Yay! All right, dear friends, have a wonderful, safe, mindful day. Don't go getting COVID.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. That was really helpful.
Oh, good. I'm glad,
Yeah.
Dave.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Sangha.
Thank you.
Be well.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, friends.
Bye. Bye, Had.
Bye.